The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. I mentioned last week, Sexathorpe Earth, Nate Sexton's signature bag, available. The party edition is now available as well. So head over to pounddiscgolf.com to check that out. And you can get a ton of new Octagoat stamped Innova discs. You know what? They have pretty much everything you could be looking for. You want a Toro, you want a Rolo, Polecat, Destroyer, bunch of Halo discs. They got a bunch of different stuff. So go over and check out what they've got and grab yourself a Pound Disc Golf disc to go in your Pound bag today. The Upshot is presented by Sunset Lake CBD, a farm that originally started as a dairy farm producing milk and cream for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but they've since diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. You got to check their products out. This is the highest quality CBD, really super nice packaging, obviously really nice quality products themselves. I've been using the muscle rub when I have sore muscles. Feels fantastic, smells great. Really, really nice to be able to use that instead of, taking Tylenol or something like that. And you can save on Sunset Lake CBD products right now. You just got to go to sunsetlakecbd.com, use coupon code UPSHOT, and you will save 20% off your entire order. And hey, heads up, 420 sale, it's coming soon. Stay tuned. Welcome to The Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. On this Tuesday, April 9th, we're just a few days away from the start of the Jonesboro Open, the next stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We emerge from Texas, Josh. We're out.
And, it was better than in years past.
It was.
I won't miss it, but I also am not upset about it. So, that's progress. That's progress.
It's progress. It's progress. We got a little bit of kind of a by the numbers episode today. We're going to dig into some season stats. We're going to also take a look at the latest ratings update. And we've got a couple other things to get to as well. But first, March Madness just concluded.
Yep.
We saw South Carolina get another title in the women's side of things, defeating Iowa and Caitlin Clark. And then last night, UConn defeats Purdue. I mean, Zach Edey was balling out of his mind. And, UConn they are an amazing basketball team. I mean, they dominated this tournament like haven't seen in a long time. I mean, they were not in games. Yeah. And ultimately, they crushed Purdue as they started to just put too much pressure from their guards. Did you get a chance to watch the games?
I didn't. I didn't watch. I watched the women's game. I did not get to watch the men's game, which honestly I was okay with.
The women's tournament was simply better. It was just more interesting to watch the women's Final Four this year.
Yep,
it just was.
It really was.
I thought the level of play and the quality of games. I mean, particularly that Iowa UConn semifinal. It was just really, really good.
It was.
I thought ESPN's production was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like their coverage was better than what we see their coverage of the NBA. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
They really pulled out all the stops. And by comparison, I thought the TNT coverage, TBS, CBS Sports World coverage of the men's tournament was, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great.
No, I really, and it's so interesting because over on the women's side, you had Caitlin Clark, obviously, who just very, very exciting player. Obviously, someone who has energized people around the women's bracket this year. And for some reason, I don't know what that reason is, but except for Zach Edey, there wasn't really a lot of other players to grasp onto on the men's side either. And even with Zach Edey, I just wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't terribly excited about it. There was nothing really exciting after, I was like, wow, maybe we have, so 11 seed in the Final Four, that might be interesting. And it really wasn't. I much preferred the women's bracket this year as well. Now, Charlie, I've actually got an interesting stat for you by the numbers here.
Oh yeah, let's do some numbers.
When I went to Salt Lake and watched the a couple of games there also, which weren't terribly interesting games. I was curious how much revenue March Madness generates.
Oh my God, it's got to be a lot.
March Madness, this is in the 2021-2022 season. So these are the top numbers that Google pops up for you. March Madness generated $1.15 billion in revenue.
And I assume that's media plus ticket sales plus merch plus whatever.
I think so. So back in 2010, the NCAA signed a 14-year, $10.8 billion contract with CBS Sports.
Massive, man.
So this was the last year of that contract, the $10.8 billion contract. But let me ask you this, Charlie. What percentage do you think March Madness accounts for total NCAA revenue?
Ooh, total NCAA revenue. Well, they got to make a good chunk on the
college football playoffs, right?
But I feel like they have less control of the football stuff to an extent because I feel like the conferences have some of that. I don't know. I'll say 40%.
90%.
Whoa.
90% of all the NCAA annual revenue comes from the month of March.
And that's just from March Madness basketball?
Just from March Madness basketball.
And the women's is just only getting bigger.
Uh-huh.
I mean, let's talk by the numbers here. Ratings on that South Carolina-Iowa game, 18.7 million. Largest ever women's basketball audience in the U.S. and among the biggest for any women's team sporting event. I'm guessing that they probably had more on like Women's World Cup final with the U.S. in it.
I think
my
that's
guess.
Probably what it would be.
That is the most watched basketball game, period. College or pro, men's or women's, since the 2019 NCAA men's championship game, which did 19.6 million. It's the second most watched women's sporting event outside of the Olympics on record, behind only the 2015 World Cup final between the U.S. and Japan. That makes sense.
There it is. Yeah,
everybody watched that game.
Everybody watched it.
So you got the biggest. Can you guess the biggest, most watched women's sporting event? I'll give you a hint. It is an Olympics moment. Can you guess what it is?
Olympics.
You maybe weren't born.
Oh.
When were you born? What year?
97.
Yeah, you were not alive. So that's a second hint. There was a movie recently about this topic, sort of. Not the ratings, but the thing that drove the ratings. That's a third hint.
It's not. Was it a gymnast?
No.
Okay, I have no idea then.
Figure skating. 94, fueled by the Nancy Kerrigan, Tonya Harding saga. CBS drew 78.7 million viewers that night. Only the Super Bowl has done bigger numbers than that. Wow.
That's unreal.
It's unreal. And so here's a few things. I noticed ESPN put the women's final on ABC. So it was available over the air.
Yes, it was.
And the men's game, which by the way started at 9:20 Eastern time. It's like, I'm like ready to go to bed and the game is tipping off. And it was on cable. There's no way that they're going to beat the women's number.
No.
0% chance.
Well, the deal's up this year, so I would imagine that's going to...
They got to put the finals on over the air. I mean, what are we doing? Why wouldn't you want to do that? I think they were trying to push their HBO Max subscriptions.
Right. Yeah. I think I read something about that. That's so obnoxious. Like I said, I didn't watch it.
It's like having to get DGN Pro to watch the European Open. But yeah, really, I mean, what a great tournament. Like, it's an awesome thing. And like, what's great is that you can pay zero attention to college basketball for the entire year, which is who I am.
Yep.
I pay no attention. And then I'm like, March Madness. Let's go. Bracket. I'm tuning in. I'm like, the first couple days when there's just games like round the clock.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so much fun.
I wonder, I always think about like, can disc golf find ways to have the like energy of these big moments, big sports. Like the Masters starts this week, Josh. And we always talk about, what's the Masters comp? And it's like, oh, well, it's USDGC because it's the same part of the country. And, it's got the same invitation vibe and they've got the clubhouse and they like really want to be the Masters.
Right.
I'm not sure that it's quite the Masters, but I at least think that they make a good effort to do it in the disc golf universe. But I still think that like disc golf could think more about how to like make its events better.
Yeah. We've talked about it. It's interesting because you really have two directions you can go. You can kind of go, I mean, like you think like pro bowling, right? Like and where they're cheering during the shots and it's like, it feels like a party atmosphere. Or you have like the golf atmosphere that tries to add some gravity and like class, I guess, in the way that they try and do it
at some tournaments.
At some tournaments, right, exactly. So there are interesting ways to swing. It definitely needs something that is just that you need something that is easy for people like my parents, for example, who never watch disc golf, to have those 1 or 2 or 3 events every year that they can engage with. Because right now, even those big majors it's still harder to follow or more difficult to engage with than March Madness, like you talked about. So,
all right, last random topic for the start of today's show. Eclipse. Did you watch it?
No.
You didn't watch it?
No.
You didn't go outside?
I did not go outside.
Did you actively choose to not go outside, or were you just like incapable of going outside?
I forgot the eclipse was yesterday. Like,
how is that possible? There was nothing but Eclipse content on all websites, television, radio.
I listened to my audiobook and did my work. Like I do not care. I do not care.
Charles Barkley on the NCAA like pregame shows, like all these idiots outside looking at the darkness. I know what darkness looks like. I don't need to see darkness. I checked it out. We had about 90% Eclipse in New York City. Park was packed. Everybody was out. Nobody was working. I mean, and it was pretty cool. It was like, little sliver sun.
Okay. Well, and I think back in 2017, Idaho was on the path. We had like 100% coverage in spots of Idaho. And so like I got a good look at the eclipse the last time. So this time I just didn't care.
That's that. You know what? You seen one eclipse, you've seen them all.
That's right. That's right. Right. Like,
all right, let's dig into the show. First things first, college disc golf championships.
Yep.
They took place this weekend. Josh, who won?
Yeah. Over on the men's D1 side, you have UNC Charlotte, who got a win. And Charlie, do we have a clip?
We do have a clip.
Oh, we've got a clip.
We got a clip. This was pretty awesome. So UNC Charlotte was the number 1 seed coming into the tournament, and they were down to Cincinnati late in the round. And Glenn Pfister had a deep circle 2 putt on the 18th to try to hit an eagle, which they needed to force a playoff. Take a look. So Glenn Pfister hits the putt, Raptor legs it in, pulling the Ricky on this one. Those guys got to take a picture together or something. And so they forced the playoff, and then on the beach hole, they're playing at Winthrop. They made a circle 1 putt. Cincinnati missed from circle 2, and that was all she wrote. So UNC Charlotte takes it down after coming in as the number 1 seed, but they had to clutch up late.
Exciting, very exciting. Congratulations to UNC Charlotte. Ben Zorn takes down the D1 men's individual title for Ferris State. Over on the D1 women's side, you have Liberty, who takes down the team event, and Kelly White from UNC, who takes down the individual event. So congratulations, they're the winners. Charlie, I've got a couple thoughts about college disc golf.
Okay.
And we've talked about some of these things before. My first thought is that college, this is owned by USA Disc Golf. I think when we were talking with PDGA members and staff, like in an interview, they were talking about how college disc golf has weird kind of like ownership. It's not the PDGA. Whoever owns it, like, we need to find a way to make this standardized and like clean, because there are always controversies surrounding announcements, eligibility, team registration. Like, we need to find a way to make this streamlined, because college has built-in fan bases. You could get attention on the sport by virtue of college, like the college that you attend or attended in the past, if we could just figure out a way to make this a bigger deal.
Yeah, and it's like so regionalized still.
Yeah.
It's massively underdeveloped. It really is. And I think they've made some improvements, but it still seems like it's kind of a mess. Like, the PDGA really needs to step in here. I mean, I'm a broken record on this topic. Like, the PDGA isn't doing nearly enough to develop like disc golfers below the age of 25. And I mean that from college, high school, middle school, elementary school. Like, giving a couple of grants to Edge or whatever is not enough.
Yeah.
Like, those organizations are doing great work. It's awesome. You play, all great. But the PDGA needs to recognize, especially as we're like in this, here we are in 2024, memberships are down for the PDGA. The industry's in a big slowdown. And we got to figure out how we're going to keep growing. And I just don't think that you want to continue to rely on like people, like men between 25 and 45, to just like be the only demographic that you like really appeal to. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you've grown pretty good with that so far, but like, what's the plan now? So, you got all this staff, you got all this media. I think it's really great that there's so much high quality presentation of like the women's professional game. That I think is helpful, but like, there's so much work that has to happen downstream. And I think college is just one of the symptoms of that.
And the other thing with that is, and this is my other thought, in Ultimate, isn't college Ultimate like just, I don't know, club is probably more important than college, right?
It is, but college is pretty big. Like,
it's huge. College
championships are the second biggest event of the season in the United States in terms of like viewership, excitement, the whole thing.
And it's just, you would think, and I know it's different, but you would think that a culture of Frisbee sports success in college would be able to be something that disc golf could lean into as well. And look at those schools that have premier Ultimate programs and go and say, hey, let's get premier like disc golf clubs set up over here too, and take advantage of the excitement, enthusiasm around that. You really think that it could be harnessed?
There's a lot that can be done. I definitely think. But, and then, there's good people thinking about this stuff. So
there are, and
it's a lot better than it was 5 years ago. So,
and there was an interview from one of the players, and I apologize, I don't have credit where credit is due. But she pointed out that she chose her college based on playing disc golf for that school.
Wow.
And you know what? That's the real deal. And I
that's
hope
progress.
That continues. So that's progress. Yeah.
All right. So let's get to the ratings update.
Okay.
First things first, let's not bury the lead here. Kristen, she didn't get there. She had a chance.
She did.
She played Persimmon Ridge this weekend. And let's take a little detour here. Who won this tournament? I know Kristen won. So
yes.
Kristen defeats Owned by 5 strokes. MPO?
Big Germ.
Big Germ. Getting it done.
First A-tier win in 6 years.
Against a pretty good field.
Not a bad field. It was not bad at all. Yes. Big congratulations to Big Germ. I mean, it is exciting. Big Germ is one of those guys that's always nice to root for. So Yeah, but beats out the likes of Nicholas Ontala, Drew Gibson. So
yeah. So Germ, 2 strokes better than Drew Gibson. But yeah, I mean, it was like solid field.
Yeah,
really solid. I mean, you scroll down, like Adam Hammis, Kevin Jones, like a bunch of good players there, a lot of pros. So
man,
shout out to Germ.
Kevin Jones, man, that poor guy. Like I'm not taking away 25th at an A tier.
Yeah, it's not been a great start to the year.
Yeah,
he's missed cash twice. His rating has dropped to 1022. I mean, I just feel like we're seeing someone who's not focused on developing their game. I'm just, to be perfectly honest with you. So anyway, back to the numbers.
To ratings.
Kristen shot an amazing second round. She basically put herself in a position, if she had an amazing third round, to potentially get to the 1,000 rating mark. She shot a 1036 second round, but only came in at 986 in the final round. So she stays right at 999. And so now we all have to do another batch of math to figure out whether she can get there next month. I haven't done it yet, but suffice it to say, she still has the opportunity. She just got to keep shooting good rounds. And she's been a little, up and down, and has basically been right at 999 average the last month. So,
well, big thanks to Kristen for the content. I mean, that means we got to keep talking about it on the podcast for the next month. So, that's just free podcasting there. So,
So elsewhere, I thought the first thing that came to my mind, Josh, was where's AB? And he has moved up 3 points to 1039. So he's just on the cusp of getting into the 1040 club. And I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at just some of the season stats so far. But we'll do it in a second. I want to finish up the ratings conversations, and then we can look at some of the season stats for these guys.
Okay, so before we move on from AB, I want to ask you, Charlie.
Sure.
I'm going to pin you down here on the main show. Walk, and we talked about this again on the the overreactions. Walk from the Discord gave an overreaction earlier at our overreaction show that AB was going to get to 1050 rated. This happened right after the chess.com invitational. Quest to 1050 continues. He's up to 1039 now. What do you think? Is this what's the spice meter on this 1050 overreaction at this point?
It's still spicy because he's got to go a long way from here to there.
He does.
I haven't really looked at like some of the rounds he'll be dropping, but you got to like his chances, because like he has been playing at such a high level to start the season. If
Walk made that like call, that reaction right now, 1 to 5 peppers on the spice meter.
I think it's a 3 pepper, but it was like a 5 pepper.
It was like a 4.5 pepper. Yeah.
So he came into the year at 1037, dropped to 1035 into January update, and then is now up to 1039. His all-time high is 1042 from March 2023. But obviously, I mean, the level of play that he's been at, I mean,
yes,
he's got so far this year, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds over 1050, including 2 rounds over 1100. It's
impressive.
Yeah. So obviously, I'll scroll down to the bottom to see where he starts dropping rounds and like what's coming off next. He's losing some pretty good rounds. He's going to have to he's going to have to maintain this level of play for an entire season. Yes, and if he does that, I think he can get there. But keep in mind, there's only one player at 1050.
Yep.
It's Calvin Heimberg. He's at 1050 exactly after dropping 1 point in this update. And so it's like pretty hard to get there. Like Calvin, it took Calvin a while to get to 1050.
Yep.
But and Anthony has played so far at a level that could get him there if he stays here playing this good for the whole season.
Yes. The one thing to highlight, you were asking like what kind of rounds are going to drop off. We are so far away from looking at the nitty gritty math of what rounds are going to drop off for Anthony Perella, right? It needs to be a year's worth of rounds, like you said, dropping off
Right.
before he's going to get there. Doable. Three peppers still at least.
I want to see Calvin Heimberg.
Yep.
I'm just going to look back at his ratings history. How long did it take him to get to 1050? No, I don't mean like his whole career.
Why don't you say from like the 1039?
From 1040
yeah.
to 1050. So here we go. I'm pulling it up.
All right.
He hit 1050 for the first time in 2020.
Okay.
And he was at 1040 in November 2019. Well, he initially hit 1040 actually in February 2019. And then he got to 1050 in October 2020.
When was the last time? What was the shortest gap of 1040 to 1050 though?
1040 exactly in November 2019, and then he got there a year later. But he, for instance, now this is probably some pandemic effect. In the September update, he was at 1044, and then in the October update, he was at 1052.
Yeah.
So that's like a massive jump, but that's probably due to some very good rounds in that month, along with that being like a concentrated amount because of the pandemic, like causing a lot fewer rounds to be played. Well,
let me give you this. Let me give you a different range then, Charlie. October of 2022, Calvin was 1041 rated. And then August of 2023, he was 1051 rated. So Calvin has done it in less than a year.
9 months. Yeah. I think it's doable. I definitely think it's doable.
You have to keep playing like this.
Yes, he is. Ezra Robinson joins the 1040 club. He moves up 1 point to 1040. It ties him with Isaac at 1040. And, it all certainly makes sense to me. He has not missed the top 20 yet this season.
Yeah, it really does. And it's the 1040 club is such an, like, I don't think people realize just how like exclusive the 1040 club is. It has, there are a lot of people, let me put it this way. There are a lot of people who you would think could be in the 1040 club who are on the outside looking in. Anthony Barella's in that list, as you just talked about. Kyle Klein, Cole Redallen, Simon Lizotte, Paul Macbeth, like lots of players outside looking in right now.
Can you name, without looking, the 8 players who are in the 1040 club?
So Ezra.
One of them is a bit of a surprise.
Okay. Ezra.
Okay, yes. Ezra.
Isaac.
Yes. Two freebies.
And yep. Calvin.
Yeah.
Third freebie.
Yeah. The solo member of the 1050 club.
Solo member 1050. So I guess, were you including him in that list?
I was.
Okay. All right.
There are 5 or more.
Okay. Gannon Burr.
Yes.
Ricky.
Yep. 3 left.
You know, the only reason I know this one is because every time I look at ratings, not this time, but every other time, I'm always forget about him, that he's in the 1040 club, and he's played well enough. I don't think he's dropped. Matty O.
That's right. He's at 1045. He's the 4th highest rated player in the world. 2 more.
Is Nicholas still in the 1040 club?
Sure is. 1042.
Okay. I remember talking about that open at Austin.
Last one.
Is Eagle in the 1040 club?
He is not. I'll give you a hint. Well, actually, Eagle might be, but he hasn't maybe gotten a ratings update because he hasn't played.
Oh, okay.
Like sometimes these lists are lies. No, yeah, he's 1049.
1049.
But it's not updated because he hasn't played yet this year.
Got it. So these are only
good call. Okay. Players who've played. He's one of the few people who hasn't. Former major champion.
Oh, I already just said Paul's not in.
Yep.
So it's not him. The only other major champion that comes to mind is Dickerson.
That's right.
Really? He's still in the 1040 club?
Sure is. 1041.
Wow.
He actually moved up 2 points back into the 1040 club on this update.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, keep in mind, he just went 6th at Waco, 9th at Open at Austin.
You're right.
He's kind of back.
Chris Dickerson Resurgence Tour.
Put the word out on the street that we back up.
Oh, man.
Watch him win a tournament this year. He might.
He really could. I mean, if you're in the 1040 club, you have to be in contention to win a tournament.
That's right. Gannon Burr is now tied with Eagle in second in the world at 1049. He moved up a point, so he's 1 point shy of Calvin. It is crazy to think about how young he is and how good he is. And how do you think he gets to the number one in the world in the ratings department this season?
Yes. Yes. If Calvin still can't throw backhand.
You mean forehand?
Or forehand, excuse me. Thank you. If Calvin still can't throw forehand, Calvin went down 1 point. I don't think it's inconceivable that he goes down one more point, right? Like if he goes to 1049 in May, are you shocked? I'm not shocked. Like that makes sense. No. And if Gannon needs to put 1 point on, and Eagles starting to play this month, but hasn't played in months, wouldn't be if Gannon was number one in the world next month, I would not be even a little bit shocked.
Odds are probably on it.
Probably.
Yeah. Some other notes on the FPO side of things. Own moves up 5 points to 989.
That might be the craziest story out of all these ratings chatter. Five rating points for professionals of this level is such a high jump. I don't remember the last time we had a professional at this high jump 5 rating points.
Turns out it's very helpful to shoot the all-time best event rating. But yeah, I mean, amazing, right? So she's third highest rated player all time. She might have already been. But behind only Paige, who was in the high 990s back in 2021, and of course Kristen. But Owen Scoggins to do this at her age, it's just an incredible story. Missy moves up to 983. She's 3 points up. Evelina climbs 2 points, 977. That's just like +2 putting skill.
Yep. Hey, look though, Missy is still higher rated than Evelina, but somehow PDGA still has Evelina above in the power ranking.
I don't understand. Valerie moves up 6 points to 967. She's certainly looking like she's moving in the right direction.
All right. I said I've never seen the 5 point rating jump. I'm going to caveat this with someone who's coming off of an injury like that. So.
Sure. Haley King drops 3 points to 976.
Man, speaking of another player, just doesn't feel focused right now.
Crazy. That's just very, very Haley though. Like she'll win one soon, just out of nowhere. All right. I want to get into some more of the numbers here.
Okay.
Let's start with Anthony because just, he's player of the year right now. If you're just looking at these small chunk of the start of the season, just to look at some of the numbers that he's been putting up so far this year. And here you go. So last year, Circle 1 in regulation, Circle 2 in regulation, which of course is like the number one indicator of how well you're playing.
Yep.
It captures things like fairway hits and scramble percentage and all that kind of stuff inside of those numbers typically. His Circle 1 regulation last year, 41, Circle 2, 65%.
Okay.
41%.
For reference, if I can put a reference mark up here, Calvin last year was top of touring players at 50 and 72.
So these numbers were solid,
but off off the mark.
But off, like he was not in the top 10. Yeah. This year he's at 53 and 75, which has him second and first,
both of which eclipse Calvin's numbers from last season.
Now, obviously, we've played a certain select number of courses. Some of the longer courses, honestly, I'm not sure that's going to hurt AB, but some of these numbers may regulate later on when we see more of the wooded and longer tracks. That's just a little caveat, but relatively, these numbers are pretty stable. This is a moment for me to ask you the trivia question of the week.
Okay.
Anthony Barella is second on tour in Circle 1 in regulation percentage at 53%. Who is first on tour in Circle 1 in regulation? And I will note, all of these stats are from through Texas State's round 2.
Okay.
They have not been updated with the final round of Texas State's. Now, that's probably not going to make a difference, maybe more than a percentage point in any direction, but just want to put that out there.
All right. Let me Let me pull the standings page because these stats, these cumulative stats aren't.
Just give a guess. You
give a
just
guess.
got to give a shot at it. I mean, I don't think you're going to get it. I was surprised.
All right.
It's 55%.
Okay. Here it goes. Ready for this?
Just take your best guess. And it's not going to be Gannon Burr because, like I said, it's a surprise.
Okay. I if it's a surprise, I'm going to give you who was third place last season.
Okay.
Among touring pros, Aaron Gossage.
It's a good guess. He is like 10th. It looks like.
Okay. All right.
9th or 10th. The answer is Joel Freeman. Joel Freeman at 55%, leading Circle 1 in regulation. And I just thought that was a shocking statistic.
Okay, can I put stick a couple caveats in real quick?
You can.
He has only played 2 events.
Fair.
And we say that these numbers stabilize after, I think it was 3 is what math tells us. Or was it?
The putting was analyzed.
Okay.
Specifically. I would imagine that most of them converge after probably 5 or 6 rounds.
Okay.
But obviously, you're going to have a big impact. Putting is more course neutral.
Yes, agreed.
You know, your Circle 1 percentage is going to be heavily influenced by how hard the course is.
Yes. Yep. So, you know, I've only played 2 events. Waco Open at Austin. I congratulations to Joel Freeman. If anyone wants to give me a bet as to whether or not he'll stay there by the end of the season, I will take just about any number that he will not. So
I think the more important and impressive stat about AB though, Josh, last year he was 82-32 on the putting green, which is his Circle 1 was not great. His Circle
passable.
2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
He's up to 87-35.
Amazing numbers.
Elite numbers.
Yep.
And like significant Circle 1 putting improvement. That is just an enormous jump. And it actually has him, let's see, he's inside the top 10 in Circle 1 putting. And he is, I think, just outside the top 10 in Circle 2 putting. So really, really good stuff. And the thing I think is impressive, though, is that his whole game is better, Josh.
It is.
It's not just like he fixed the putting or he, is less OB or something. It's like, no, he's just straight up across the board better in every category.
Yep. I completely agree with that. And it's demonstrated in and the thing is, it's not just like the physical game as well. It's the mental game. It's his decision making, and we've talked and praised AB in lots of ways about this, but I think the stats are just reflecting the completeness of his game right now compared to last. I've got some numbers for you, Charlie.
Okay,
that I think are really interesting, and we pulled these because Ezra Robinson jumps up the 1 rating point, ties Isaac Robinson, like we talked about. Ezra Robinson has not missed the top 20 yet. He is playing just sneaky good golf again, and so I thought it'd be interesting. Let's compare Ezra Robinson to himself last season and to Isaac Robinson. So last season, Ezra Robinson was 40% in Circle 1 in regulation, 65% Circle 2 regulation, 84-31 on the putting green. If you jump over to this season, though, 44% Circle 1 in regulation. It's a 4% jump. 67% in Circle 2 in regulation, a 2% jump. And over on the putting green, he's improved his C1X putting by 2% to 86, and is now putting at 35% clip from Circle 2 putting, which is a 4% improvement. He is reaching the point. His Circle 1 and Circle 2 in regulation numbers are not elite by any means, but his putting is very close to the elite numbers. I mean, he's very close to Anthony Barella's numbers there, and it's clear that he is making even more improvements than last season.
And I would go so far to say that he is in the elite category. I mean, depends on where you want to draw the line, but like,
sure,
I think he's 14th in Circle 1 in regulation on tour.
Wow, I didn't. Okay, so Anthony Barella's 53% is crazy good. Then.
It's really good. I mean, so like for instance, tied in third is Nicholas and Gannon at 51.
Okay,
and the only other player north of 50% is Kyle Klein. As you can see, besides the Joel Freeman low sample size variance there,
right,
the best players have the highest Circle 1 in regulation number. Like that, if you want one stat to look at for disc golf, that's it.
This is it. Yeah. So how does that compare with Isaac Robinson? Well, Circle 2 in regulation and putting are remarkably similar. 67% Ezra, 68% Isaac. 86% C1X for, sorry, that was Circle 2 in regulation. 86% in Circle 1X versus 85% Circle 1X, Ezra and Isaac. Both are at 35% Circle 2 putting. So within a rating, or within 1 percentage point of each other, or the same on every statistic there. Circle 1 in regulation, though, Isaac is at 39%, 5 points behind his brother. And Charlie, did you just say that Circle 1 in regulation is the most important stat in success in disc golf?
Sure did.
Man, it's almost like that explains the 14 placement difference in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings between the two players.
That's pretty much it right there. I think that it's a simple story in a lot of ways. It's just like Isaac has not been as good off the tees this season as he was last year. I mean, he's down from 44 last year to 39 this year. And obviously, there's a lot of season left. Let's get into the woods. I mean, Champions Cup, you got to think Isaac's got a good shot there.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, Ezra, what's most interesting, I think, is how similar they are really across the board. It's kind of wild, actually.
You want to have one more thing that's kind of funny about that, Charlie? Last season, they had flipped, and Ezra was 40 and Isaac was 44.
Yeah.
But other than that, they were 1 rating point away from each other the entire time as well. So
crazy. Kristen, I was kind of curious, like, how is she performing relative to last season?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost exactly the same. Her putting stats are literally the same at 77 and 20. Circle 1 regulation at 41 is exactly the same. And she's dipped 4% in getting to Circle 2 in regulation. I mean, basically, she's playing exactly at the same level as she was a year ago, which feels about true. And I think the difference is that the Challenger Committee has stepped up and challenged more.
Yep.
And we've been seeing players popping off into that over 1,000 territory that it takes to win a tournament these days more often. And that's why we've had a sort of an interesting, like, 5 unique winners.
Yep. That's exactly right. And it reflects it, right? I mean, there's a lot of players in the committee who have moved up, and the gap is smaller than it's been in a long time in terms of ratings, with Own almost getting to the 990 mark. And so I think that makes complete sense. And the hard thing is like, let's go down. Let's take a quick look at last season's stats. Circle 1 in regulation last season, Evelina was the highest at 42%. Kristen was second at 41%. Circle 2 in regulation, Kristen was the highest at 66%. Evelina was in second at 63%. Circle, in putting, Kristen's, top 10 level, not
she's not
one.
She's not Own.
No, she's not Own. And in Circle 2 putting, she is in the top. She's only behind. Own is in first, was last season. It was at first 21%. Silva Saarinen at 20%. Aria Castrita at 20%. Kristen at 20%. So, elite in Circle 2. The only thing she's not elite in is Circle 1X putting. And
I'm not surprised, because you watch her miss bunnies like every tournament.
Yes. Yeah. It's just not, she's good. She has a good, solid percentage, but she is not elite. It's interesting then when we look at Kristen and we're like, man, Kristen needs to be pushing it up. Like she's not playing at the same level. She was the ceiling last season in almost every category. She's playing at that same level again in every category. It's just people around her are much, much better. And so it just doesn't look or feel the same.
Yeah. Yeah. One other little nugget, Henna. She's tied with Evelina for being first in strokes gained tee to green. And she is dead last in strokes gained putting by 10 strokes worse than second to last. And she's sort of taken over the Evelina mantle from last season. And man, it's not surprising like
No.
watching her play, because it's like, wow, what a beautiful shot from Henna. Oh my God, she just 3-putted from 10 feet. Anything, please, Henna. Stop the putting the way you're doing it. New thing, please. And
Charlie, let me ask you this: Who's the best putter in FPO?
It's Own.
Oh, is it Own? Okay.
Yeah, it's Own.
Shocking.
I don't need the stats to tell you that. Interesting note: she's the only player with a positive Sexton putting barometer. If you're wondering what the hell that is,
hey, that was my next question.
It's the number of circle 2 makes plus the number of circle 3 makes. So like 66 to 99 feet.
Okay, yeah.
Minus your circle 1 misses. She's the only player who has a positive Sexton putting barometer in FPO, which basically means she makes more circle 2 putts than she misses circle 1 putts. Which, can't we all aspire to that on the putting green?
Yes. That's an impressive stat.
First in MPO is James Proctor, who's a plus 26, which is awesome.
What's Own's number?
Plus 2.
Oh, okay. So just
thin
margin there.
I think in a lot of seasons, no one in FPO has been in the positive category.
That's crazy.
It is pretty crazy. So, that is going to do it for today's show. We've got a little Jonesboro preview coming your way on Thursday as we get ready to get back to the tour. We got back-to-back tournaments as well. We've got Jonesboro followed up immediately by the Music City Open out in Nashville. And so looking forward to Jonesboro is always fun, Josh. Cat Merch won here last year. You know, the Primal Scream, like... And I think it's one of the best open courses on tour.
Didn't Disc Side of Heaven get pretty significantly reworked this year?
You know, I have heard that maybe there are some significant changes. I have not yet taken a look deep dive, but we'll get you
ready Thursday.
Everything ready for you Thursday. Yeah. That's right.
All
so
right.
Excited to see what the course looks like this year. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Thursday right here on the Upshot.